Hey, it's Chrissy and Amanda.
Two girls from Saskatchewan, Canada, living the Reiki life while working the 9 to 5.
Hey everyone, welcome to Living the Reiki Life. You're here with Christy.
And Amanda.
And we hope you're having a good week. And thanks for joining us for this week's episode. We got lots of special topics to dive into today. But first of all, let's just see what's going on.
Yeah, so I actually have a really cool story to share, Christy, and I purposefully did not tell you this yet because I wanted you to hear it live while we record. So this is really neat. So my dad reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, can you Reiki me when you have time?" And of course I was like, "Yeah, like what's going on?" And he's like, "Well, I had a really weird dream and I think I may have an attachment, like an entity attached." And I said, "Yeah, okay." So when I Reiki my dad, like it's just straight business. I'm not doing a whole chakra balancing session. Like I'm in and out. Like let's get to business and just see what's up. And it's just so he can feel better. So I go in and as I'm working on him, I noticed that, oh, like he has fluid in his ears. Like that's odd. And then I thought of someone like drowning. And I thought, like I need to Reiki his lungs to get the water out of his lungs. So I actually like hopped on my bed and then on top of my surrogate Reiki doll, and I started pushing like all the energy and like fluid out of his lungs, and I was like blowing it out. And then I asked if this was like someone else, like what's going on? It's like, yes, it's a woman, and this woman had drowned. And so I called in Archangel Michael to come in and assist me. And I just had this vision of him like one-handing her out of this water, like pulling her out of this water and then putting her on this grass beside. And she was on her side and she just started like spitting up all this water. And it was like, okay. And then after that, I like just crossed her over, moved her on. I didn't really get any more details than that because I don't know, I just don't do that anymore. I'm just like, okay, let's move them on. And so after I tell my dad, well, first he asked me, like, it's almost like a game. Like he asked me, okay, well, what did you find? And then I'll tell you about my dream. I'm like, okay. So I tell him what happened. I told him about the woman in the water and the grass and all that. And then he tells me about his dream that he had. And he goes, so I was on the golf course with my friend, and this woman came up to me and she had drowned and she was like on the grass. And she told me that her name was Sarah. And I was like, whoa. I was like, Dad, the night before I went to a concert, this like big concert in the city. And me and my friend were walking around, and this guy and his friend came up, and the one guy knew my friend. And this rather random guy comes up to me and just jokingly is like, "Oh my God, Sarah, how are you?" And like, just like in a funny, like of all the girls' names that he could have picked for me, he called me Sarah. And I thought it was funny, like, oh, do I look like a Sarah? And then so for my dad to be like, I had this dream of this woman named Sarah who had like drowned, like everything just came together. It was honestly like wild. We were both kind of just shocked and just really reaffirmed the dream that he had. And he said after like he had slept so good that night that she was gone. Like they kind of poke at his they kind of give him pain a bit, like just to kind of get his attention when there's somebody attached and just like needs assistance, I guess. So, and then it keeps him up at night. So he knows that's when he needs Reiki. So yeah, he slept really, really good after that. But it was a wild story. And I couldn't believe that everything jived. And I almost kind of shocked myself, to be honest. I know this isn't kind of traditional Reiki, but it's like energy work. And it was super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. But you know, it's funny. Whenever
Yep.
you tell a story about your dad, I always know it's gonna be something crazy, like how everything lines up and even like having that connection like to your father, it's like is even more special, and just how you guys are connected. That is so neat though. And for somebody to call you Sarah, that is just
No,
bizarre.
Like that was like the almost like the cherry on top of the weirdness of this whole story. I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit. Like literally the night before that name, like could have called me anything. There's a zillion female names out there, you
Oh,
know?
that is yes. Oh, I can't believe that. But it's just it's so neat when you're aware of all those signs and you pay attention and they all line up. That is amazing.
Well, and I thought it also was interesting because the last time like we shared an update, you were starting to have like those dreams, right? And
Hmm.
then right after that, Dad tells me that he's having these dreams, and I thought, what is going on? Like you and Christy are both like leveling up in a different place here. Yeah, so I thought it was super interesting.
Oh yeah, Dreamtime has been quite wild. Actually, yeah, that's what I was actually going to share
Wow,
was
what's going on?
about dreams. Like, well, even so, last night, my husband's been home for a few days because he works on the road, and we just fell asleep nicely, and I was dreaming I was like on a boat, and because I really enjoyed that Below Deck show. It's like this reality show where they're like on the yacht, and I don't know, it's just like kind of one of my guilty pleasures just to unwind. I like watching that show. So my dream was like I was in that show, and then all of a sudden the smoke alarm, like the fire alarm, was going off in my dream, and I was like, what the heck, like what's going on? The captain was panicking, and I woke up and our smoke detector went off. And so our alarm was going off, and Troy like jumped out of bed, like literally just jumped. And he's like, "Oh, that's so weird." He's like, "I was just having a dream and the smoke detector was going off in my dream." And I was like, "Same here." I was like, "Were you in my dream? Like what was going on?" And he couldn't remember details at that moment. I should ask him this morning if like more details came to him, cuz it's pretty cool cuz we both have such powerful dreams. Like that's one of our ways that life is like teaching us lessons and guiding us is through our dream time. And I'll share with him, and then I'll be like, "Okay, what do you think this interpretation would be?" And then he tells me, and then he shares his dream, because it's, you try to interpret them yourself, but sometimes you need that like third party perspective to be like removed from everything to like give you that insight. And yeah, just some of those dreams coming through are just so wild. And even some other ones I had recently about like a big decision I was facing, and my dream time was coming through just showing me everything. And it's funny, like sometimes I'll argue with my dream. I know what it means, but I'm like, but I don't want it to mean that, you just like try and like psych yourself out of that meaning of that dream, but you deep down know, like in your heart, okay, no, that's what like my higher self, my guides were showing me in that dream was for my next step. So I don't know. It's really neat. And I've been setting my intention before I go to sleep to receive guidance in my dreams. Like just a little thing in my head, like, hey, I want some guidance on this situation. Please provide me in dream time. Thanks. Bye. Like that's it. Like just something really simple of the highest vibration, of course. And so, yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I really like setting that intention. And I find too, if that's like pulling cards for yourself too. It's so
Yeah.
hard because you're so close to it. You almost need to remove yourself and analyze it as a third party.
Yeah.
So it's good you have Troy to bounce that off of.
Yeah. And he's so good at interpreting things. Like some of the stuff he comes up with, I was like, what? And then the odd time, like, we'll have to Google something, like, what does a raven mean? Or what does this mean? And then you kind of keep going off of that. So, yeah, it's
Yeah,
fascinating.
that is fascinating.
I
Cool.
did.
I love it.
I wanted to ask you about back to the concert you went to. I saw you posted on Instagram about getting Reiki at a concert. Is there
Oh,
a
Whitney
story
did. Yeah.
there? Or
She was like, cause so she went to Metallica literally the night before in Edmonton. So she
oh
went
wow,
there, drove home to go to this other concert. My friend works on a rock radio station, so she usually goes to all the concerts. And she was headbanging so bad the day before the
oh no,
Metallica concert, she couldn't even like move her neck at the show. And we're sitting there, and she's like, "Oh, can you Reiki me?" And she's not really into Reiki. Like just probably in the last like 3 months, she's just like she actually let me Reiki her and she couldn't believe how good it felt. She's like, there's something happening to my body. Because we were just sitting on the couch. Like it was one of those like impromptu Reiki sessions. Like, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
just give you a little kitchen table Reiki kind of a thing. Because,
Yeah.
she's just opening up to it slightly. And she's like, there's something happening in my chest. And I was like, yeah, like that's the Reiki. She just like almost was, what the heck is happening? And then
Cool.
she's like, I felt so good after. And this was only like probably max 10 minutes all she received. Like
Wow.
Reikiing her back, just accessing the heart. So it was
Yeah.
super cool that she wanted me to just, we're sitting there in our seats and I had my hands over on her neck and
On your day.
just set the intention. I wasn't even paying attention. I just like, I thought I don't have to. I can just let it flow and I can just be off watching the show.
Yeah.
Like, great. Yeah, so funny.
That's amazing. Okay, yeah, because I was meant to ask you what was going on there, but
Ah,
that is so
yeah.
neat that she's starting to open up and she can feel things in her body. Ah, I just love when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like, really, if anyone's going to be a skeptic, like, it's going to be her. Like, she's so supportive of this, but she is pretty religious, right? So
Hmm.
sometimes those things don't really jive.
Yeah,
But yes,
yes, your belief system for sure. I've come across that as well, and but yeah, it's kind of like one of those things. Don't knock it till you try it.
yeah,
Yeah,
super cool.
yeah,
Hmm. Okay. Should we get into some astrology?
yeah.
Do something. Okay, so we still have a lunar eclipse coming up in Pisces, so the full moon on September 17th. So just something to be aware of. We kind of talked about how this is the High Priestess card in the tarot deck. So really good time to focus on your spiritual journey and kind of release some of that deeper work that maybe you need to let go of. And something I forgot to mention, sorry, all, on September 22nd, we actually have the fall equinox. I can't believe we're already there. End of summer, taking that time to welcome in the harvest. I saw, Christy, you were welcoming in your harvest that you got from your garden and having stir fry and all that. I was like, that's awesome. It's like perfect time, September, to do that. All your
Oh,
hard work. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, we're
It's
transitioning from fall in or summer into fall. And it is that equal day and night. That's what the equinox is. It's that equal time. So yeah, welcome in, celebrate, harvest your garden like Christy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was thinking like, damn, this was like a lot of work to water the garden, weed the garden, plan the
Hmm.
garden, like the whole process, and then to actually like have a whole stir fry of food that I grew myself was just amazing. And of course, it tasted so good. So, yeah,
That's
that
awesome.
was yeah, and even if you think of it like energetically, like planting those seeds and like watching things grow and then the harvest at the end after your all your hard work is something to like think of.
And be proud of.
Yes. Yeah, just like give yourself that gratitude and be like, "Damn, look at what I grew. Like this is cool."
Yeah.
On today's episode, we are going to talk about Egyptian Reiki, and we're going to also talk about like our superconscious, our subconscious, and the higher self. So we've been like bouncing ideas around with each other for different topics for episodes, and we just found like if we find some things that we want to talk about, we'll just kind of combine them together and have a conversation about them. And this Egyptian Reiki actually came to me from a client that I was doing Reiki for, and she was telling me about her attunement of Egyptian Reiki. So I messaged Amanda and I was like, have you ever heard of this before? Because I was like, I haven't. So we started to research it and found it super interesting.
Yeah. And we think you'll find it interesting too. Yeah. So we didn't know anything about Egyptian Reiki. So I found it super fascinating and thought we need to share this on the podcast. So I had to go on the internet and actually pull information from WikiHow. So we're giving them credit for all the information we found because we didn't know anything, but we thought you might find it really interesting too, about the facets and the attunements and just it's really neat to see how Reiki has spiraled and the different forms. And we're going to talk about different types of Reiki on the podcast because this is a Reiki podcast.
Yeah, of course. I love learning new things. And it's wild when you think you've heard, well, you'll never hear all of it. There's always all these different modalities hidden in all these corners. And it's just fun to learn more.
Yes, it is fun. But let's talk about so like what is the difference between the superconscious? You may have heard the expression of your subconscious or even your higher self. So we wanted to dive into those first, and then we'll get into Egyptian Reiki.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So I actually looked up some of the definitions of these because I was curious of because I have my own opinions of what these are. And especially with working in the Reiki field or trying to do hypnosis now, I'm calling in the higher self, or some people call it the super self. And so the definitions that I got for the super conscious mind is this, it's a heightened state of awareness. People can call this the higher self as well. It can be interchangeable, existing beyond the subconscious and consciousness. So you access the state where you are in the zone. So, when you get in just that really nice flow state, I always think of like an artist who gets in that zeroed in focus as they paint, and they're just accessing that genius, that true creativity. It's almost like they've not left their physical body, obviously, because they're painting, but they stop taking the thinking out of it, which is funny because Todd and I went on a date night, which was awesome last night. And we stopped in at our friend's house and they were in the garage. And his one friend is like an amazing artist. And he was painting or spray painting this guy's huge wall. And just watching somebody spray paint and work in that creativeness, and I thought, geez, like that is what he's accessing. And it was so cool to just see this art come together. And you're like, what the, like, how did you even start? It's just so cool. So there's limitless potential here. And it's a lovely place as you will feel that simplicity feeling of joy, calm, and peace.
Yes, I've been in that state when I used to make jewelry, when I would do like macrame, when I was knotting bracelets. My hands would just flow and I would just be in that flow state. It's so neat. And it's like time doesn't matter. Everything kind of melts away. And I was even thinking about just being in the shower. I've gotten some crazy downloads just in the shower because you're removed from all technology. It's just you, yourself, in the water, and you're just standing there. And like, that's the best time, like, to connect with yourself, like I find, and then being in water as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's funny. I was thinking about the higher self, and I wanted to like think of the definition myself before I went and started diving into YouTube and Google and seeing what everything else is out there. And when I was thinking about it, it's like when I connect with somebody's higher self in a Reiki session, it's almost like I thought I was connecting to their spirit guides. I was shown this visual of my higher self sitting down with their higher self and like having tea and like discussing what is going on with my client. And I was like, that makes so much more sense, because if you look at your spirit guides, of course, they come through in Reiki sessions, but they're not you. They're not an essence of you. They're more of like a mentor, like a grandfather, like somebody full of wisdom. So they're there to guide you, but your higher self is here to show you who you truly are and guide you back to that space of like your soul's essence, like who you truly are when you were sparked into existence. Like there's no ego there. There's no trauma. There's no sadness, like none of those lower vibration emotions that we feel like as a human here on earth. So it's pretty neat to connect to your higher self. And sometimes I find like that's what's happening when I'm having a shower, is just that connecting to my soul. And I believe like your higher self, like all of your soul's experiences are in that higher self. And when I used to do meditations and connect with her, I would see her and she looked like me, but she didn't. And she'd be like running through the field and she was just this beautiful essence. And I think like we like to put faces and names and stuff onto things, but I think essentially your higher self is probably just like a light maybe. I don't know. I guess however somebody connects to it, but that's how I connect to my higher self.
Yeah, even the light or even like a vibration.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. And yeah, I find that that higher self is, yeah, there's that pure, not tainted, but like you said, doesn't have any of those human emotions to kind of influence the information that's coming through. It's like a non-biased, just clear light, like a clear vibration. And I was practicing my hypnosis and I was trying to talk to the client's subconscious and she couldn't really get into that deep enough state. So when I was asking her these questions, it was funny. It was like her higher self was coming through and talking to me as she couldn't hear the answers because she just too overthinking. But then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, like I'm getting these answers here, not even really kind of cluing in after. But yeah, I find that's what that higher self is. It's just, yeah, that guidance, that clear spirit of the soul, kind of.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And yeah, ways to connect to your higher self is through being quiet, like
Yeah.
meditating, journaling, hypnosis.
Hmm.
That's the best way to connect because you got to be really still and quiet. And I was thinking if like everybody on earth could connect to their higher selves that clearly, it'd put us out of business because everybody would have the answers within themselves, you know? Like they wouldn't need anybody else to help them guide or bring those answers to them. So it's kind of, I see a journey that all of us are going on, and we're going back to getting to know ourselves and connect ourselves to that higher self. Because, like, you've heard that saying that everything you need is already within you. And I'm like, well, what? Why? Like, how? And it's that higher self. That higher self knows everything. Like, would you even say that they would know what lies in the future? Would you have that belief or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yes. It's like they know the journey that is set out for us. And the higher self is almost like something that stays behind in a way that's helping us keep the path because they know what's coming or they know what we want to achieve and kind of guide us over there.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it's interesting. I think of my journey and connecting with different, like goddesses and like Ganesha and the angels and like all of that. And it's just, I feel like I'm coming back home to myself where it's like, yes, it's beautiful to connect to all of those deities and everything else, but it's like connecting to your higher self is like where that magic is. Like, that's my soul essence. That's me. Why would I want to go anywhere else? That's how I feel like in my journey right now. Like, I'm not saying that connecting with those other deities and all of that is not beneficial. Like, I've gotten many amazing messages through them and guidance and all of that, but I'm just kind of coming back to myself and being like, okay, this is all within me. How do I get to know myself more?
Yeah. And I think that's what all of us really want. I know
Mm-hmm.
when I would go for sessions, I would just be like, I just want to understand who I am, why I'm here, and like, I just want to know if I'm living out my true purpose. I think we all want those answers and just know we're doing the thing, I guess.
Yeah, that's some of the biggest questions us humans have on Earth. Why am I here? Who am I? What's going on? You know, and
Yeah.
it's just like you get these little tidbits as you go. And yeah, what a journey, you know, to come to Earth and be erased of everything. You have amnesia and you're just like, okay, here you go. Have fun. You get to
Yeah,
experience this all over again and learn your lessons and your karma. And yeah, it's pretty wild.
it is. It is. And we should kind of remember that it is a gift to be here and to do it and make the most of it. Have fun and keep moving forward.
That's so true.
Mhm. Okay, so let's touch on the subconscious mind now. So the subconscious is always what I'm trying to bring forward when I'm doing like a past life regression during Reiki or hypnosis. So that's when you get into that really relaxed dream state and you can quiet the conscious mind, so that overthinking, and just let our subconscious, almost like that autopilot, just come forward. So turning that on. This is even called like the bridge to the higher self, is what I found out. You can't get there until you reach the higher self first. So this draws from the programming we receive from ages 0 to 7. So from when you're 0 to 7, you are just being programmed. So just think of it like a computer. And then these are going to be your default settings. This is why this age is so important, because this will be who you are when you're not even thinking about life, like your personality and all those kind of things. Also, when I do, like, I read a lot of Dolores Cannon books, and she always talks about like the subconscious, and she describes it as an awareness of your soul. So it's like the subconscious knows your body, it knows you, and it can just access that information that we want to know about ourselves when we bring that subconscious forward.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I do a lot of meditations and self-hypnosis to get into that subconscious and uncover some traumas or some thought patterns, or like, where did this sense of unworthiness stem from? And it's, yeah, getting into that state to unlock the subconscious. That's key, because your nervous system needs to be completely like calmed right down, and you need to feel safe for that to come through. So it does like happen with practice, but it's fascinating work. Like on our hypnosis episode, we talk about a lot about the subconscious, and yeah, there's a lot that lies there if you're willing to put in the work and just to understand yourself like at the human level and why your neural pathways are set a certain way. It's like, oh, okay, somebody on the playground told me this, and I believed that as a child. So I'm going to attract more of that because that's what I believe myself to be true. So going in and rewiring that conscious thought and being like, no, actually, you're worthy of this. So let's attract more worthiness into your life. So.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's right. And we do touch a lot on the subconscious in our hypnosis episode. If you wanted to go back and listen to that, Hypnosis with Haley.
Yeah, that was a great
really
episode.
All right. So why don't we look at what Egyptian Reiki is? This is fascinating, by the way. I absolutely loved learning about this, the background of it, and just talking about all the levels. There's a lot of levels, so a little bit different than Usui Reiki. As you know, there's levels 1, 2, and then the masters. So just pretty, not basic, but pretty straightforward. This has seven facets, they call it. So Egyptian Reiki, also known as Reyad Sekhem Reiki, is an energetic healing that combines traditional Reiki healing methods with an ancient Egyptian practice of restoring physical and energetic, and really focuses on spiritual awakening and deep emotional healing. So I guess that would be kind of one of the main differences, is that they really focus on your spiritual awakening and that really deep emotional healing. I know when Christy and we Reiki, we really like to get to the root, go into the chakra and focus on that too. So there was really some interesting overlaps between like what you and I do and how we've evolved our own practices this way. So I thought that was interesting. It was channeled by a guy named Patrick Ziegler in the 1980s, after he traveled to Egypt. He had a similar experience as to Mikao Usui did on Mount Kurama. This energy healing dates back to almost 4,000 years old, which actually makes it older than Usui Reiki. They didn't have the awareness of the chakra system, but they did practice how to restore energy centers on all levels so the self could fully heal, which I think is really important. That physical, mental, and emotional parts. And, even when I read books about like Atlantis, and they knew you couldn't just heal the physical part of your body if you get a cut. It's like you need to heal the emotional and the mental part of it to fully be healed. So I think this is just spot on. Sekhem roughly translates to power of all powers.
Yeah, it is super fascinating to find out like different ways that energy was channeled and people were healing. And I do believe that there is a part to truly healing someone's aspects. Like yeah, if you cut yourself and yeah, you heal the wound, but there may be a trauma that's still lingering there, like in the emotional body. And that's something that you'll have to visit at some point in your life. It's not like it just magically goes away. It's like something that we need to set the intention and to heal. And you know, when I was researching this, there isn't a ton of information about it. Did you have trouble
Oh,
finding?
I thought that there was actually, I thought I got a pretty good actually grasp on it. I thought it
Oh,
was good in that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I
because
mean,
I
right, they're not going to tell you, I guess, how they do all the things, right? That's why you'd have to actually take the course, I'm assuming.
take the yeah, that's right. Cause well, I went
Yeah.
onto YouTube. I was like, okay, I'll watch. Sometimes I'm better when I watch things and read things, and I didn't find a ton of information on there. But one thing I did find fascinating is like with the traditional Reiki, we start at the crown and we work our ways down to the root. So from the spiritual chakra down to like the physical root chakra. And with this Reiki, they actually start at your root and then they go up to the crown chakra. And it's funny because I've been guided sometimes in Reiki sessions to start at the root. Like, of course, I ground a person in every time, but then it's kind of like, well, what's going on with the root system? And I always find like the higher chakras to be like the more fun ones, you know, so it's like, let's get like the dense ones out of the way. Like, let's work with the root, the sacral, the solar. Let's start there and then go back up. But I don't know. It's like there is rules in Reiki, but sometimes you can do your own thing. Like, have you ever started at the root?
Like you, I definitely ground people in first. And
Yeah.
then I know I usually always start at the crown, but I will skip chakras
Yeah,
and
I've done that too.
and then go back to them after.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I always start at the crown. So yeah, but I think it's interesting. I mean, do whatever you know is what you need to do. I think that's the best part about healing somebody intuitively.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just guiding, you're listening to yourself and what that person needs in that session. Because even like I'll be doing like a quick scan and then all of a sudden you get like sucked into the heart and you're at the heart the whole time. And it's like, oh, but what about the other chakras? It's like, oh no. But it's like that's what was needed in that session and that's what I trust.
Yeah. And you trust the Reiki's going to flow throughout the body anyway. So even when I have my hands on somebody's shoulders, it's like I can feel it just spreading through
Yeah,
the whole body,
that's
which
right.
is great.
Yeah, it's not like you necessarily need to be hovering over each single one. Like you're setting the intention for that Reiki energy to flow regardless.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So Sekhem has 7 levels and they're all called facets. So let's dive into them and see what they're all about. So let's start with the faucet 1. It is the infinity symbol. This is the symbol that you receive. And Amanda and I actually received this symbol. When was it? Level 3, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Was
Yes.
it that one? Yeah.
Yes.
Geez, it's like hard to remember so long ago. But yeah, it's just that symbol. I always think of it as like the 8. But
Hmm.
it's like the universal love and balance and the symbol that's usually at the crown and the heart. And they
Yeah.
also use Choku Rei, which is just like Yusui's power symbol. So hand positions are pretty traditional like Yusui. They also do a scan of the body with the hand, something you learn in Yusui Reiki.
Facet 2. So the physical, mental, and emotional side. They use the Seihei symbol at this level, and they give you the distant healing symbol as well. You can combine all 4 symbols and create an energetic bridge that transcends all time and space. So this sounds like the distant symbol that we do in Usui Reiki as well. So that on the Shonan, I always feel like I stumble over that. That is what that symbol does in Usui Reiki as well. It takes away all time and space, so you can send distant healing, and that's what facet 2 is in Egyptian Reiki.
So faucet 3, the Zara symbol, or Choku Ret, a symbol to better help you manifest and channel specific energies. So Choku Ret apparently has a higher vibration than Choku Rei. The symbol kind of looks like the beginning of the Choku Rei, but with an infinity symbol in the middle.
Yeah, it's really neat. I was really fascinated by these symbols. And I know you need to get attuned to use these symbols, just like in Usui Reiki, but I would be curious if these symbols came to you, even if you're not attuned, I would still feel called to use them. I know that I had that Shoku Rei symbol come to me before I was attuned to Usui Reiki. And I remember just drawing it and not even really knowing what it was. And I remember knowing I should draw this over my walls to protect my walls while I'm doing Reiki. So I feel like if they kind of come and they call to you, I don't know, I personally say use them.
Yeah, oh, that's neat. I didn't know that symbol came to you before.
Yeah, yeah, it did. Yeah,
Wow.
but interesting. Hmm.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so facet 4. So this is angel wings, dismantle energy blockages, and seal energetic processes. So this one's really neat. You get another symbol at this point as well, which is angel wings. So this symbol can act as an energetic seal for the attunements, as well as the therapy sessions. So it helps clear the chakras, energy fields, and channels. So this almost sounds like more of a chakra balancing, which Christy and I are actually going to get into on a different episode because we talk about how we really go to each one of the chakras, which we're really balancing the chakras. So I feel like this is kind of what this facet 4 is to really help with that.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me too. That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so faucet 5 is male and female balance. So balancing the bodies, the yin and the yang energies. And there's a male and a female balance symbol. So yeah, that's interesting because I've worked on clients before where you can sense like it's like, okay, you're really masculine in your like your business, your career job, and then you bring that into the home life, and then there's like imbalances with the husband, or like, you know, like that sacred dance of the feminine and the male aspects within your energy. So I find that really interesting as well.
Yeah, I've had Reiki sessions too where I do find it really interesting when somebody, I feel like I'm working a lot on one specific side of the body, and I'm like, oh, like, yes, like you said, you know, you're really masculine heavy, which in turn, everything does need to balance. So if you're bringing in that energy home and you're being like 80-20, well, then your spouse is going to have to fit the other 80-20 almost in the opposite way, right? Because everything does need to have a balance. So it's really good if you can kind of balance your own energy and come in with that way. So, and I even find when after I do a Reiki session, I'm almost like I go around the aura and that's really funny, like almost doing this like big circle thing with my hands as around the body, almost to help balance. I feel like it's to clear the aura, but also to balance the energies in the body as well. So that's a really cool level. I like that.
I really like that too. I feel like that should be part of, you should learn that in Reiki because I've like
Hmm.
naturally come across it and you have
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, that is neat. Yeah, just something we've picked up on. Facet 6. So you're aligning the higher self and the lower selves. After learning how to balance the yin and the yang, you align the vital energy of your inner self with the superior one emanated by the universal life force energy. There is a high-low God selves symbol that activates this alignment. These help align the inner self, the soul, and the higher self. This is also the equivalent of the master level in Usui Reiki. So you can actually attune others now once you have this level. This looks, and the symbol kind of looks like the infinity symbol with a line down the middle with some flares coming out of the sides. It's probably best just to look up these symbols yourself so you can kind of get what they look like, but I'm just trying to describe them to you. So also I find really neat. And yeah, after this level, you can actually attune people.
Yeah. This is quite a journey, you know, getting to this level. Like, you know, when you think
Yeah.
of the traditional 1, 2 masters, it's like, this just seems like you are diving like really deep within yourself and like getting to really know yourself. I feel like this, I don't know, this is just my opinion. I feel like this type of Reiki wouldn't be for the faint of heart. Like I feel
Yeah,
like this is like a deep, deep dive.
deep dive for sure.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, and I know they teach you about the other basics. I'm sure they would. I guess we don't know for sure, but I'm sure they would teach you the basics of Reiki and all of that and like the upper facet, like 1 and 2. But I'd almost wonder if you'd want to have Yasui first just to have a guide before you dove into something like this.
yeah. Yeah. And I guess it depends how much time you take between each faucet too. Like if you wanted
Yeah.
to. So facet 7, this is taking your master practice even further, and you get a If Teche symbol, which represents endless inner sight. It's the Eye of Horus, mainly used on the third eye chakra as it connects the energy between the pineal gland and the pituitary glands. And it helps turn on that psychic sight and connections to the divine energies and the outer world. You also get access to the master symbol Dai Ko Mio, which is the master symbol in Usui Reiki.
I find this really interesting about the Eye of Horus. And again, you probably want to go ahead and search that symbol yourself so you can see what it looks like if that interests you. But to make sure you're turning on all those psychic, I guess, abilities that's really, I'm sure that would appeal to a lot of people to really turn that up a notch. And this is the final facet.
Yeah, that's interesting. So do you get like an attunement after each facet? Is that how this
Yeah.
rolls? Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes. It's
Wow.
like an attunement and a symbol. I'd
And
like to
sim-
kind of up level your journey each time. And then it's interesting that they have like the master where you can teach, and then there's still another level.
yeah, that is interesting. Because you think, I don't know, I think of like Yasui Reiki, like we kind of turn on that connection to divine like earlier on. We don't leave that till like the very end. So I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of like you're cleaning out your own chakras. You're getting in tune with yourself, and then we're turning it on. So that's an interesting takeaway.
Hmm. So now that we've kind of discussed it, so like, how do you feel about this program?
It's really fascinating. Like I almost want to like learn more about it. I don't know if I would necessarily like take the course, but I do want to like find out more because we've have talked about like Egyptian times being so fascinating, and like I get very like lost in the history of it, and then yeah, and it's so long ago, and it's just yeah, I don't know. There's something within me that wants to learn more about it. I would actually like
Yeah.
to go for an Egyptian Reiki treatment if I could find someone that I feel good about. Yeah,
Yeah. Reach out to us if you do this type of modality. I would
yeah,
also be interested. Maybe we can even have you on the podcast to talk about it. Maybe do this program a little bit more justice
yeah. I
than
would
what
love to
we're giving
talk
it.
to someone. Yeah,
Same. I also kind of feel like you and I do a type of hybrid of this kind of energy work already, though. Maybe not like obviously not to that full extent, but I feel like just us developing our own style of Reiki and how we do has just kind of developed. And there are definitely some similarities with this as with what we do. And it's interesting because I oftentimes make a triangle with my two hands. And I feel like when I make that triangle symbol, it's like I'm giving it like the utmost power. Like to me, this symbol for myself, this triangle is almost it's more effective. It's stronger than any symbol that I could draw, like the Shokugure or the Seihei Ki. I just feel like this is like when I need to bring in big guns when I personally make a triangle, which reminds me of Egyptian, right? The pyramids. But
yeah,
yeah, so I think it's really cool. I think it's really neat how Reiki evolved, and this was a channel program, just kind of similar to uh, Macau Yasui. And I think it's great if it works and you're doing the work, then great, no
yeah.
qualms.
And you know, at the end of the day, all energy work is similar. It's just our interpretation of it and our intention behind it, I find. Like there's similarities in everything you find. Just like with religion, there's some similarities in everything, like everybody's belief system. So it's just whatever resonates with you and lights your soul up, that's where you should be guided to whatever Reiki feels right to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well put. Absolutely. Okay, so that's all we pretty had for this episode today. So let us know what you think when we post this on our Instagram. And yeah, if you wanted to dive more into it. And Christy is going to grace us with a card pull today to end the episode. So, Christy, what deck are you using?
Okay, I'm using a new deck here. So Wisdom of the Oracle by Call It Baron Reed. And it's like a tiny little deck. It's like smaller than a deck of cards. So it's kind of cute.
I've seen that deck. Like other readers use it on YouTube. Cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I know.
I really like it.
I like it too. Like some of her decks I don't resonate with. Like I have another one where I opened it and I was like, oh, didn't like it. But you know, sometimes I circle back, but we'll see. Okay, let's see what message we have for the listeners today for September. Oh, it's funny. Okay, so I'll post the picture of the cards. And this one says here and now, and it's this girl, looks like almost a child sitting on like an egg. And it's like got the past, present, and future. And it's like the here and now. So it's just that reminder to be in the present moment. We get so tied up in reliving the past, fretting about the future. It's like you need to live in the now. And I know I've said this over and over again. I say this to myself, but it's just like we have a precious energy source within us. And if we're using that energy source to power the past or the future, it just doesn't seem like it does us any good. Like it's okay to go down memory lane or, you know, set goals for the future and stuff, but it's like, don't live there. Don't relive that, because when we relive that, it's almost like our nervous system can be tricked into going through all of that again. So it's like you're throwing yourself out of balance. So it's funny, you know, like when I pull cards, it's always a message for myself as well. And the next message is All That Glitters. And it's got all this gold glitter here with a couple masks laying on the glitter. Oh, this is interesting. I'm hearing like put the mask down. And finding like those moments of, oh, what was that saying? It's like not moments of, I'll just call them moments of glitter. You know, when you're walking the dog and you see like a butterfly land on a flower, or you're driving and you see somebody help a elderly person cross the street. It's like focusing on those glitter moments in the present moment is like so heart opening, and like what a beautiful space to be in when you can actually access those moments. Because if you're focusing on the past or the future, you miss these glitter moments. And they're everywhere. And it's just like you have to open your eyes to be able to see them. You know, we always think, oh, there's so much bad in the world and all of that. And when we focus on that, that's what expands and grows, right? So if we focus on these glitter moments and the gold and the richness in our lives and be grateful for what we have, that is like pretty magical, I would say. And the last card here is Blessed. So it's like this woman with her hands together. And it's interesting. She's looking to the left, to the past. And it's almost like she's giving herself grace for what she went through in the past. And it's like she's turning there, giving her moment, and just not reliving the past, but being grateful for the lessons she has learned from the past to get her where she is now. Because yeah, where you're going, you can't live in the past. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just, it's kind of an interesting read. And it kind of aligns with like, you know, with autumn coming up and the equinox. You know, it's every time the season changes, it's a time to look at the past season and take inventory and be like, okay, what lessons did I learn? What do I want to work towards? And just kind of set the intentions going forward. And that harvest, like planting the seeds and the harvest and the abundance at the end. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's the message.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I thought it actually really resonated with me as well. Just living in the future, not really. Yeah, living in the kind of the present and more so looking forward instead of stressing and keeping yourself stuck in past things. That's right. All you can do is learn from it and move forward. I thought that was a great message. Fun deck.
Yeah, I really like this deck. I want to play with it more. But yeah, I will post a picture of these because the art on here is pretty cool too.
Yeah, the art has to resonate on a deck.
It does. Yeah. I know, because that's like her other deck. She did her own art, and it's like all these faces, and I just don't like it. Like, I like when you can look at a photo and you can see other things within the photo, and then you look at it again. You're like, oh, I didn't see that last time. It's like they talk to you. Yeah. That's when you know you have a good deck.
Out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. You can follow us on Instagram at Living the Reiki Life. Post the card pulls there and episodes that are released. And you can find us on our own personal handles. Mine is Reiki with Manda.
And mine is the Birch Soul.
Right on. And if you want to reach out to us, we are currently accepting clients. If anybody wants a session or just a chat, reach out. Let us know. What's up?
Yeah, for sure. And I have my new offering of Akashic soul readings that are just so much fun. So if that's something that interests you or if you have questions, let me know.
Yeah, and a perfect time for it too, now that we're entering a new season and what we want to bloom for the rest of the year. I love that. Exciting that you're doing that.
Yeah, I really enjoy it.
Right on. Okay, well, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.
Yep, have a good week.
1, 2